When you think of masculinity, you sure as fuck don't think about me. Hi, I'm Hal Sparks, and you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I was on Queer as Folk and a Disney show, and I have long hair, and I wear shiny clothes when I sing. What else? I have one of these guitars. So you know, when you think of masculinity, man, you think of real, genuine masculine people. You know what I mean? Real men, like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, and Glenn Beck and Stu, and this asshole, this kid right here. Slow me down if this gets too butch for anybody right out of the gate here. I do believe this is Ben Shapiro, and he is not, insofar as I know, talking to John Heilman right now. He's a vision in beige and Real Men. Yes, by the way, can I just say for the record, the movie Real Men with Jim Belushi and John Ritter is fucking magic. I'm just putting it out there. Very few people have seen it. It's a low-budget comedy. There you go. Hell, is this Sigma? Oh, thanks. That's very sweet. Or an insult. I haven't decided yet. I've seen some of the Sigma stuff, and it's hard to decide. Okay, now, this guy wears glasses, so obviously a stud. And they're in a coffee place that apparently, if the background is any indication, makes their own cold brew, foaming cold brew back here. So, and look at the pastries in this fucking place. Like, this is, goddamn, it's like the next best thing to doing this clip in a slaughterhouse. Like, I'm surprised they're not just throwing concrete blocks or like pushing a giant mill like Conan, Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women. And have a cold brew with the vanilla cream. What's the one with the caramel sprinkles in the tops and the things that give it the big muscles? What's this? No, wrong Conan. Apparently this video is called "Why is Culture Attacking Masculinity?" with Andrew Clavin of the Clavin Kleagle. And apparently what they mean by attacking masculinity is, I think, the singular douchebaggishness of certain males, like Andrew Tate and who else is supposed to be butch as shit? I don't know the rest of them because I've never needed any help in that area. All right, so Cliff Clavin, yeah, and the Clavin Kleagles. Okay, here we go. So this is, thank God though, we've got two men who are busy being men, okay? And they took time out of their manly days to help us fix manness. And at no point will either one of them Steven Crowder the other one by putting their junk on the other one's shoulder. I think they saved that till after. Here we go. Here's Ben Shapiro saving masculinity. Oh, and why don't I hear that? That's weird. Why is the audio off in here? What's the audio doing to thing? Why is it making stupid noise? And I'm making this noise I want. It's weird. Okay. Yeah, see, I don't see any audio coming out. What would be the thing there? Look at all these weird controls I've got down here now. What's happening? Maybe I have to reload it? What the hell happened? Excuse me one second. That's a new one on me. It's not even making the noise of the thing. Or maybe is there another? No, there's not.
The reaction to...
Oh, there it is. Now it's making noise. That was weird. Okay. The reaction to... ...
The attitude of your generation, which was, we can joke with each other, right? We can make fun of each other's sex. We can make fun of each other's race. We can make fun of each other's religion.
Yeah, but you got to take your tampon out first. Come on, man. Don't be a big old vagina about stuff.
The reaction to that was political correctness, which was, you will make fun of nothing.
No. That political correctness is not you will make fun of nothing. Because quite frankly, there was a tipping point around the time I think he's talking about where comedians of color got as racist as anything I have ever seen, because there became this like build your sitcom on your singular experience. So you like each category of human, if your whites were just like vanilla comedians and we're allowed to just joke about everything and just from a generic standpoint, and comedy clubs nearly insist that that comics of color almost singularly address their race and their race's position in society and nothing else, even if it's not germane to their personal experience. Like it's like I watch it over over about 2 decades. Yeah. And by the way, watch the comedy of the last sort of 20 years in this respect, and then go back and watch Eddie Murphy Delirious / comedian, depending on the album versus the special, and then go listen to some Godfrey Cambridge, and we'll talk. And of course, I will still say to this day that as much of a Carlinite as I am, the piece that changed how I perceive comedy can be done is Ben the Blacksmith by Richard Pryor. If you haven't heard it, it's genius.
And we will not only will not traffic in stereotypes, if you even make a joke about a stereotype, even if the stereotype is rooted in reality, that makes you a bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Ben Shapiro doesn't go to comedy clubs, and he has no sense of humor. And I don't know if anybody's been to a fucking comedy club in the last 60 years. I don't know how, like, the oldest person in my crowd is. I'm trying to think. We got at least a 78-year-old in here somewhere, maybe. Yeah. What a bunch of bullshit.
And then when you realize that, wait a second, that new reality doesn't exist where everybody is an equivalent widget and every single thing is identical, then of course we're angry, because it's like, okay, you've told us we can't.
Yeah, of course we're angry. We're being forced to wear beige and khaki. We're being forced to drink unmasculine coffees in neutral tone and earth tone cafes with affected Italian furniture. Where the fuck? I want a chair made out of bones. This is so stupid.
We can't actually talk about our differences, because that's bad to talk about our differences.
No, it isn't. You can talk about your differences. You can't shit on someone else's differences from a point of punching down. You can't.
This is bad. And then
And by the way, I take that back. Yes, you can, as long as it's really funny. I don't know what the fuck. Most of the people that like the Nick DiPaolos of the world, or people who get kicked out of clubs, or won't get invited back for being piggish fucks. And they're like, I got canceled from this club. Had Anthony Jeselnik a fucking week later. And that guy, his entire character on stage is like a Nazi prison guard at an open mic. Good Lord.
Said that there are no differences, but that's a lie. So now this is what makes people angry. It makes people bottle up, because we recognize.
Yeah, I could tell you're all bottled up. You're fucking David Banner over there.
Recognize that what you're telling us is a lie, but you've also told us that if we say that it's a lie, then we have transgressed. Right? The attempt to silence is what generates the anger, right? It didn't go back to warmth, because we're not allowed to make the warm joke. If I make the warm joke, then it doesn't matter. Like if I make
the warm joke. Tell us, Ben, what is the warm joke in the context of canceled, politically incorrect, awful, that gets you tamped down? What's the warm joke?
Joke about women, I have to think twice. Am I going to get boycotted now if I make a joke about women? Whereas I can make jokes about women in front of my wife, no problem.
Of course.
Well, yeah, because you can't leave. My wife's got to take it. You know what I mean? What's she got to do? I have a prenup that says she's got to take my stupid jokes. Also, can I just say for the record, I question that they are jokes. I would more than likely, I would argue that more than likely they are simply shitty asides.
Of course, and she'll make jokes about men, and that's how it works. And with my friend.
Oh, so she does. That's weird. She makes jokes about men. So she's not allowed to joke about you in your presence? Weird.
Friends of other races. We make jokes about each other. I mean, Jeremy's a Christian. I'm a Jew. All we do all day
All you
is
do,
make
I know.
jokes about each other's religion. I mean, but you can't do that in public, because if you do that in public, then people immediately hit you with the...
No, they don't. Because if you're clear that they're jokes, everybody just moves the fuck on. It's the history of hateful shit that makes everybody go, I don't think this motherfucker's joking. See, that's why you don't, as a stand-up, especially if you have anybody new in the audience, you don't lead with your most controversial stuff unless you're trying to clear the room of non-believers, which is a dick move anyways, and it's usually a safety net that weak comics do, which is I'll be shitty up front, walk anybody who isn't on board, and then I'll get clapped her the rest of the fucking night.
You have harmed someone narrative.
Oh, they pretend to take it seriously, so as if you had really said something.
That's my favorite.
No, they're not pretending to take it seriously. They know who you are, they recognize you in public, and then you have the gall to make a racist joke as if they don't. And they're like, this motherfucker thinks he can say anything he wants. Fuck him.
Yeah,
exactly.
And this, this is the way men form bonds and relationships, is that if you get out of the...
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have a single friend that I haven't put my nuts on their shoulder and said, who is your daddy? Who is he? No, I mean, really, I want to know, because I don't believe your mom.
System that you're in, say you're in the military, say you're a group of writers in a writer's room, whatever you're in, you make fun of them. You start to rib each other, and that's kind of the way you start to establish like who's going where and where the boundaries are and all this stuff, and then you become.
Yeah, it's interesting that in that setting, or in say a comedy club setting, which is what I would argue are safe spaces to joke around because there are established social orders in there, versus just being an asshole at a picnic.
Like this kind of machine, men become this band of people. If you can't do that, men can't actually mature. They can't mentor each other. They can't, teach each other what each one knows and pass it on. It's very crippling.
Especially if what they know is racist. Like, for fuck's sake, there is no way that if I'm sitting with these guys at this table, they're not catching shit for one of them wearing the other one's pants, the other one wearing the other one's top. Did you guys get dressed in a fucking hurry leaving the motel room? Nobody's going to have a fucking problem with that. You know why? Because I don't have a history of being a dirtbag to people who are who are marginalized in society. So everybody knows I'm joking, or that I'm picking out a particular sensitive spot with these two dickheads and go, is there a reason why you guys traded pants? Because I like the monochromatic look, but did you just decide on it when you were leaving the dorm? Making jokes about that in particular, my gay friends, for example, know that I actually know a couple who traded shirts because they were like, no, that looks better on me, before they left the house. And that would be the version of that joke that we would joke about. But these guys being hyper fucking sensitive, you can absolutely go after them for that kind of stuff. And then they get all riled up. And then the joke is how riled up they are. And that's fun because they can't take it because they're wusses, unlike my gay friends.
Humor, to not be able to use humor like that is very crippling.
One of the things that's
Yes, it must be debilitating to have no sense of humor and to have only sarcasm as a shitty crutch to make up for that.
And, amazing and weird is that I think there's a fundamental misconception by women about
fucking chicks. Am I right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know why you can't make girl jokes, ladies. Why you fucking like the fact that he like to be this fucking blind to the gaping hole in your character that makes it off limits for you to be a piece of shit. This is so stupid.
The quote-unquote patriarchy and the patriarchal society, and what it led to was this, we've talked about sort of the false feeling about what men are. Men are...
This false feeling about what men are. Or what they aren't, in your case, Ben.
Brutal and terrible and evil, and everything about men is bad.
Oh, thanks. I feel, yeah, chicks like a bad boy. What can I tell you? Right? Am I right?
And when they evidence masculinity, that's because all masculinity is in some form toxic and aggressive. And if we just wiped away the testosterone, then all of society would be
just like the two of you in this coffee shop, completely devoid of testosterone. I swear to God, I feel like I'm lactating just watching this shit. See how easy it is? If you're not a dick the rest of the time, you can make jokes and people know they're jokes. Fucking hell.
Would be rainbows and
you're like having a... You imagine walking around with a corkscrew up your ass like this all the fucking time?
Candy. But the George Gilder wrote a book that's now being reissued. Now it's called Men in Marriage. And his basic thesis is that we never lived in a patriarchy. We always lived in a matriarchy. And the reason, but it was good because the matriarchy, what he meant by that was not that men didn't have power. Men had an awful lot of power. But it's that the fundamental presupposition of civilization was that male patterns.
He's like slowing down his conversation for whoever dropped off whatever they dropped off at his table, so he wouldn't get to the part, like, so the waiter wouldn't go, "Fucks, what? The fucking what?"
Patterns of being had to subordinate themselves to female patterns of being, meaning that it was male strength. Because if males on their own will be evil. Males on their own, just in the wild, they will hunt and they will kill and they will rape and they will do just awful, evil things, which is exactly what you see in Hunter.
Well, to you, Ben, I mean, there's obviously a physical hierarchy that happens in those situations. And as much as shit rolls downhill, never mind. Like the idea, like, hey, if Ben was out in the woods, man, he'd just fuck you up. He'd be like punching a bear in the dick, and he'd be like, "You bend over, it's your turn next, Gary. After I'm done fucking this tree and building a lean-to out of the splinters." I just can't get over the beige.
Forager societies very often.
Ungentle Ben. That's just rude. Is that the porn version?
I don't see a lot of social bonds. You see men who are moving around and sort of abandoning kids, and that's very common.
No, it isn't. Shut the fuck up. This idea that men are just like apes if they don't have a woman around gentrifying them, or that women would be just like scratching each other's eye out if there's not a man around, and some bullshit. Everybody's got their definitely inherent estrogen and testosterone traits, but civilization makes up for a lot of that shit. Calm the fuck down. And this is as a Freemason, by the way, which the whole gig of Freemasonry is making good men better. We can't make bad men good, but we can make good men better. That's the whole fucking point.
And you see it in anarchic societies. It remains very common to this day.
Yes, all the anarchy societies. Man, like, have you ever seen a bunch of butch Antifa teens on top of each other? It's like Lord of the Flies in black.
So his proposition is that male toxicity is then linked with the female time horizon. So the male time horizon is, when do I next get laid? The female time horizon is, you have sex and then you...
Or when do I next avoid sex with my wife, I guess, and you're... All right.
You generate a child over the course of months, and then you raise the child over the course of years. And so the male mode of being...
Or...
has to be subordinated to the female mode of being in order for civilization to be created. So all that aggressiveness gets channeled toward...
Yeah, you're operating on the idea that these roving bands of lonely males were in the business of civilization creation, and that this is fucking ape behavior. I don't know what the fuck this asshole lives like, but some people fall in love. I don't know if he's aware of this, that men and women actually are capable, in a lot of cases, of mutual connection that bonds the two without denying either. You know that's a thing, right? What the shit?
Or actually the quote-unquote matriarchy, like the female mode of actually building, because women are there to...
That's not a matriarchy either. Just because you're dovetailing to that so your offspring survive is not indicative of a fucking matriarchy, stupid. The example for the matriarchy is that wars get fought and the men fight them all the time. It's always men who die in mass in these situations, even whether there's a king or a queen. They send the men to do it. The expendables in your society are most likely male, whether they work dangerous jobs or whether they fucking clear minefields or whether they fucking work in a coal mine or they're a soldier or whatever. Throughout history, men are the expendable ones. And part of that has to do with the fact that, the women have to be protected because a woman can only have one baby at a time, but a man can have multiple children spread out all over the place. You only really need one dude. So if the rest of them fucking die, who cares? And that's a part of this kind of ape-ish concept of society that he has too. This is just dumb.
You build things, but they need men to actually do the building. And so what men trade away,
or a forklift,
is that kind of moment-to-moment autonomy in favor of something significantly more meaningful, but they have to restrict themselves in order to do that. And that's what builds civilization. And so what?
Yeah, because women don't like sex. It's a mess and it's weird and I don't know. Like, she makes me do all this kinky stuff just to get her aroused. Like, go to Home Depot and bring her back something. It's ugh.
The feminists did is they said, no, that's the patriarchy. When they made the absurd contention that marriage is a patriarchal institution, when it is precisely the reverse. It is a bunch of obligations for men that would not exist but for the absence of but for the presence of marriage. When they made that contention, when they succeeded.
This has nothing to do with matriarchy or patriarchy. It has to do with stopping inbreeding in medium-sized tribes. And this, as somebody from Kentucky, this is something I know a lot about. Dumb fuck, they just needed to keep track of whose babies were whose, because when people were too closely related, their babies came out all funky. And at that point, when they came up with this structure, they didn't know about the eggs inside the woman. They just thought baby batter. Something comes out of the dude, it goes into her, she cooks it, and out comes a baby. So the dad is the primary person. And Jews changed that a little bit as a way of stopping Arabs, from Muslims in particular, raping them out of existence, because no matter who has the baby with this woman, the child is still a Jew. And they're like, oh, well, shit, there goes one of our tools. That's how they did it. It was a tactical decision about it. It wasn't based on like, oh, well, I see the sperm and the spermatozoa and the ovum, and at one point the fallopian tube. Like, they didn't work that shit out. They were just like, oh yeah, some goo comes out of men and then magically inside lady parts turns into baby. Must be the guy who's in charge of all that shit.
With that contention, then what they did is they actually subverted the authority that they had in society, which was connected to their very biology. They subverted that. And
this guy has a dubious look on his face, like we do, and yet he's going to agree. That's the fucked up thing. Who's the other guy? The other guy's name is Andrew Clavin. Sat down with my friend and Daily Wire host. Oh, good. So it's two hosts at the Daily Wire having a coffee clatch for men.
Now men were unbound from that, and they went back to being what they were in the free battle.
You goddamn right I did. I mean, what?
Days. And women were
sluts. They were all sluts.
Nothing. I mean, and that's what's happening. Women are becoming
sluts. They're all sluts. They don't need me. Once they can get you know what was the problem? When chicks got checkbooks, that's what fucked up the whole thing.
They don't exist.
Men. I mean, men can be women.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this thing, right? Am I right? He's even doing the like, chicks, am I right? Neck scratch. Fucking hell.
I mean,
this.
By the way, this is not. Can I just say, this is what toxic masculinity looks like. I hunt and I have guns with my dad, and I lift weights, and I have a truck. I eat meat and barbecue and grill and shit like that. All the stuff that supposedly these guys are worried about are vanishing. Meanwhile, these this is toxic masculinity. This is exactly it. This is desperate to be masculine, overcompensation. It's just embarrassing.
To me, is like a major theological point, and I think, and as a matter of fact, I think that is what it is. I think it goes beyond. Freud said everything comes down to sex. I think sex actually is a symbol of something way beyond that.
Freud was an idiot and never cured anybody. Just for the record. Feel free to check my work.
Men and women become one flesh because there are two.
Because mommy and daddy love each other very much. And they have a spare room.
Two ways of looking at the world. The world is actually a multiverse, you know? And this is what...
Dude, you can't fucking drop Marvel Cinematic Universe shit in the middle of a discussion about hyper masculinity, or how masculinity has been derided, and that's what you drop. There's no reference to why the Hulk is representative of male anger and keeping it under control. It's actually based partly on the Frankenstein concept of science and men getting out over their skis, but the character of the Hulk is based on a werewolf concept, which is about hyper-masculinity overwhelming us and us all having to try and hold it back and see if we can use it for good. And most superhero stories are about males tempering their baser instincts to be better people. That's why men in general need superhero movies and hero stories, and women like them. They enjoy them, but their character is not going to be changed by them. Women don't have to be talked into not using their brute strength to brutalize someone often. And all women who drive their kids into a lake in a car aside, there's a reason why, you know, if someone is beating someone to death, on both sides, it's mostly the guys.
I think there is a way that you would call the way of power, where...
The way of power. I smell a new podcast on the Daily Wire.
You know, full of envy and ambition and conflict, which is the masculine way. That is the way we are built. And then there is the way that is the way of love, you know, which is that all of these things are good, but they have to be transformed by love. And I think that when a man and woman become one flesh, that is the kind of unity. You actually are modeling something that is beyond human. And
wait, so as soon as a man and a woman get married and have kids, they are suddenly no longer in conflict? Jesus, this motherfucker doesn't know how anything works. What the hell? The one flesh thing, it's all Sachi. It says, this is fucking... This is him trying to be mitigatory.
I think that's, if you look, you know,
you know, it's almost like I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. You know what I mean? You know,
go back.
You ever start talking out of your ass and then you just can't stop?
All the time, 500 years. I feel that we are at the end of an argument that has been going on for 500 years when basically the church broke up and they discovered science and all this stuff.
That's what happened. Yeah, 500 years ago, the church broke up and discovered science. I had no idea we were going to get a deep and introspective history lesson today. Somebody write down that date again.
And if you go...
It was 500 years ago, right? Okay, good.
To the Germans, it was...
No, I'm not going to. Yeah, no. I mean, 500 years ago is bad enough, but it's certainly not in the last 70 years.
It was all philosophy, and it was all about power. It was all, you know...
Yeah. There's a weird trend in Germanic thought around power that didn't really work out well.
Schopenhauer would just say there's no morality. There's just different power going in, and there was the will to power.
Oh, he's talking about the Frankfurt School.
And that was what Nietzsche would talk about, the will to power and all this.
Yeah, but Nietzsche's an asshole. He's a nihilistic dickhead who's, you know, he was like Ayn Rand 1.25 beta.
You go to England, where everybody's gay, obviously. You just listen to the way they talk.
See, we can't even make that joke, you know? It's so fun. You're not even allowed. You just do like totally, like, you get fucking canceled. Look how, but look at the joy it brings to little Ben's face to say that Brits are gay because of how they talk. And he's like, isn't it so freeing to make gay Brit jokes? Ah, ha, 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 ha. I guess it's ironic.
but then you get the poets.
And then dead face again. That didn't last long. What's the arc of laughter in Ben Shapiro's life? Is it 2 chuckles and then death? My cousin Jerome, who we love, that was his shtick when I was growing up the whole time, is that he would go... he would always... He could kill a laugh in the middle. And it worked like a charm. It was hilarious.
And the poets...
That's not what Ben's doing. He's falling apart right now. He's just sad. He's like, I enjoyed that joke for a moment, but now the moment is gone. And now I never get to... and I'll never have that recipe again. Oh, no.
Especially Coleridge, they love the Germans, but they're poets. And so they have a...
You're losing him. He's dozing off at this point. Cavlin, or whatever your name is. Yeah. I wish I was at Home Depot buying plywood.
Certain kind of creative anima, more feminine way. And they bring that stuff together into a much more real world. I think, I'm not kidding about this, I think this is why Shakespeare, when he has Portia argue for Christianity in The Merchant of Venice, I think that's why he makes her a woman dressed as a man.
You're going to bring up the one with Shylock in it?
It's basically saying, the mercy that she's talking about is a feminine trait, but the law that she's talking about is a masculine trait. So she's both. In that moment, she becomes both. And I think this is...
So it was the first trans character, and you're for it? This is so stupid.
The reason it's terrible...
Putting aside the anti-Semitism of Merchant of Venice.
Yes,
no, not putting it aside. As a matter of fact, he dropped it right in your fucking lap, dum-dum.
But
it's all he can think about while he's talking to you.
But you're correct. I mean, the biblical notion that this goes all the way back to the Bible. The idea that God is both justice and mercy, and that mercy is described in the Bible.
Yeah, so God is trans, right? So masculine and feminine. It's closer to yin and yang. It is a force that's in all things, and it created mankind in its image in that regard. And this is going to be a rough coffee for Ben.
Using feminine language, and justice is described in the Bible using masculine language. Right. In the Hebrew, that's the way it is. Right? These.
And don't get that mixed up with just tribal control bullshit. Because no early tribes did that.
I mean, that is literally in the grammar of the Bible, and the way that you learn about the names of God, typically, is that the more masculine attributes of God are considered din, and then which is justice, and then the more feminine version is rachamim, which is...
And what kid does...
I gotta say, din sounds more female to me, and rachamim sounds like a dude. Hey, what's up? My name's Rachamim. We're gonna party!
Doesn't see that in his, mother and father if they're healthy, adult human beings. That's why when we mess with this stuff and...
Should masculinity talk be this boring? Should it? I'm honest to God. I can feel my balls going to sleep watching this.
We on the right get so upset.
They're like napping. My nuts are napping right now. They're like, wake us up when this is over and tell us it was all a bad dream.
About it, and they kind of complain. They think, well, what's business is it of yours? And sure, in an individual, it's no business of mine. Do I care whether some guy wants to walk down the street in a dress? No, I don't. But when the society...
Unless it's you, Ben, in which case, I got 2 20s and 2 10s right here in my... Sorry.
It loses that sense that something urgent is going on beyond this life, that there is no reference point to flesh. There's just flesh. It doesn't refer to anything else. Once they lose that, they literally are doing what the most pencil-necked, low IQ country preacher told them they were going to be doing. You're going down the road to sin. Well, that's essentially what they're doing.
Yeah, so I'll disagree with you.
So he's right.
I think that it is bad if a man walks down the street in a dress. And if a man,
I didn't say it wasn't bad. It's none of my business.
I do care. So I don't care. You want to do it in private.
Well, yeah, because Ben knows, and if you see a guy walking down the street, in a dress, you might go, that looks very relaxing and freeing. Is it a kilt?
Of your own home. I care in the sense that as a spiritual being, I think you're degrading yourself, and I think that you're doing something wrong to yourself.
Yes.
But
well, we all appreciate your concern, Ben. But Jack would like his pants back.
From a sort of governmental perspective,
right?
I don't think that the government's preserve is to go into private domains where you are in your own house doing a thing by yourself and not affect.
Right, and if gay couples want to get married and live as a married couple and enjoy the bonds of that holy matrimony in their own faith or lack thereof. You're cool with that? Good. All right. Well, progress. We'll take it. We'll allow your one weird laugh at the British accent being somehow gay, I suppose, in exchange for an expansion of rights.
Anyone else. With that, as a general rule, although obviously I'm against suicide and all the rest,
well, general. I mean, come on. Wait, at least he's taking a true stance. He's at least against. So you're against suicide, are you?
Anyone else. With that, as a general rule, although obviously I'm against suicide and all the rest,
obviously,
what we have done as a society.
The fuck does that have to do with it?
We flip private and public, right? Everything that is private is now public, and everything that ought to be public is now private. So religion ought to be a public thing because it turns out that religion is the way that people.
Not according to Jesus, but then I guess that's where the difference would be.
Interact with the world when they believe that God is a real thing and that morality is a real thing, and we've decided no, that's relegated to your bedroom. How you screw? That's out in the streets. That's
how you screw. It's nice that we're going back to like 70s language about this.
Like, what makes you a hero is being Sam Britton donning ladies' wear, and until you steal luggage, you're perfectly normal. Until you steal luggage, you're handling the country's nuclear waste. That's the stuff that needs to be public. The relegation of
why? Sam Britton, by the way, is the guy who was in nuclear waste disposal in the Biden administration. He was hired. He's trans, and he's trans non-binary, I guess. And he was stealing luggage. He lost his job, got fired. Now he's up against charges. What the fact that he did that? He's not the only person in the world who steals luggage or has kleptomania. But the fact that those two things are together. When they don't necessarily overlap, there isn't a direct linkage between being trans, being non-binary, or being a transvestite, or even an autogynephile, and kleptomania in particular. There's more of a linkage, quite frankly, between that and OCD, for example. There's much more linkage in there, but even still not causative. So the idea that this guy couldn't do his job here because of the trans thing, because the trans thing supposedly had to do with the stealing, is not. Because I guess it's okay if somebody's a piece of shit at their job as long as they're straight, right, Ben?
Religion to the private square and sex to the public square is the reverse.
Well, not quite the public square. I mean. If you're using public Wi-Fi in a place like that, you got to check over your shoulder before you click on some links.
Of what things were supposed to be.
It is. I feel like we've learned so much. Did you guys learn a bunch? I did.